On tonight's UAP News Show, Trump's drone report, promises made, but were they kept? And Trump says he'll release the JFK, RFK, and MLK files, so are UFOs next? Jake Barber drops bombs about UFO crash retrievals, and The Age of Disclosure, the documentary that can change everything. Hey there, beautiful souls. It's your girl, Allie, and we are back at it again for another episode of UAP Society's weekly UAP News Show. I am stoked to get started, and I am riding solo tonight, so without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I want to say that we tried to get this content out last week, but for some reason, DaVinci Resolve, the editing program that we use to edit and make our news videos and the other videos that I make for my channel, decided to crash and just basically closed out on us. I had the project already ready to go. I was at the end stage, ready to render it, and the program just kept crashing. I tried so many different things. Don't even want to get into all that. I was like stressed out for an entire week straight. So I'm just ready to move on. I'm attempting to do this on my own, so let's just get right into it. All right, up first, Trump's drone report. Promises made, but were they kept? All right, folks, let's rewind for a second. Remember election night when President Trump stood on stage, looked America in the eye, and promised his campaign would hold true to, quote, promises made, promises kept, end quote? Bold words. Then, after all the mystery surrounding the drone flap, he assured us that on day one of his administration, he would deliver a real report on the unidentified drones flying over sensitive locations like Gabreski Airport in Long Island and across the Hudson River in Jersey. Fast forward to Inauguration Day. Did we get that promised report? Nope, we sure did not. Instead, Trump told Susie to look into it. Let's take a look.
Just as I did in my first term, we had a great first term, a great first term. I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. I'm going to give you a report on drones about one day into the administration, because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drone. I would like to find out what it is and tell the people.
And can you commit to some kind of...
In fact, I'd like to do that. Could we find out what that was, Susie? Okay? Yeah, why don't we find out immediately?
Wah, wah, wah. Then, 1 week later, the official statement actually dropped, and it said that drones flying over New Jersey were, quote, authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Take a listen.
I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States.
So where does that leave us? What happened to promises made, promises kept? Is this another government brush off, or is there something bigger at play? Either way, the way I see it, there's only two scenarios. Either they told Trump the truth, and Trump is keeping the truth from us, or they lied to him, and he's just kind of like blindly being honest with us. I don't really see a gray area in between. And Jake Barber, who we might be able to talk about a little bit later, tweeted this. He says, the activity there was not FAA approved. I know firsthand. I was assigned there specifically to look at the debacle from a FAA violation standpoint in order to give a basis to the FBI. Someone is not presenting the whole story to our new president. So it seems like Jake Barber agrees that Trump is not being told the truth, and that's why we got a big fat nothing burger of an announcement from dear old Susie at the White House. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about this other than, I mean, when you make a promise, you should keep it. And so far, it just seems like it was all a bunch of stuff that sounded good. It was all a bunch of talk. It was stuff that sounded good in the moment to get him where he needed to get or to make impressions he wanted to make. But then when it came down to actually delivering on those promises, wah, wah. All right, so do you think that Trump ever intended to reveal real answers, or was this just campaign talk? What do you think the government isn't telling us about these drones? Could these drones be connected to a larger UFO cover-up? Should we push harder for transparency, or are we just chasing ghosts? Let us know in the comment section below. Up next, Trump says he'll release the JFK, RFK, and MLK files. Are UFOs next? All right, folks, this is huge.
Sometimes they say huge, not a bad one. Huge tax.
President Donald Trump just threw down the gauntlet and announced that he'll be releasing the JFK, RFK, and MLK files. At a recent press conference, he said, quote, "We're looking at it right now," end quote, which means the government's biggest secrets in U.S. history could finally come to light.
You stated that you will release the files, all of the files, as it relates to the JFK assassination. And by the way, this is his desk.
Yeah, that's right.
This is where John Kennedy, little John Kennedy.
It's a movable door.
Yeah.
It's a little door there. That's where John was.
John, yeah. And RFK, and also Martin Luther King Jr., and that you will be transparent. This was going to happen in the first
So many
term.
people have asked me to do that. And I did it with Kennedy to an extent.
Right.
But I was asked by some of our government officials not to. And, you know, you have to respect them. I was actually asked by Mike Pompeo, who was Secretary of State, not to. And I felt he knew something that maybe, you know, when he asks you not to, you sort of say, why? And he felt that it was just not a good time to release them. And you might ask him why. Maybe he'll deny that even. But he did. He asked me. And some others also, though. They didn't want the Kennedy stuff released. And they're professionals, and I respect them. And they're working for me and the country. They're working for the country. And so I didn't release, but I'm going to release them immediately upon getting, we're going to see the information. We're looking at it right now.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay? Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
And when those files are released, you'll be able to find them at the National Archives website. I included a link to that website in the video description box below, so make sure to check that out. But hold on, there's some extra spicy drama behind the scenes. So remember former CIA Director / Secretary of State Mike Pompeo? The guy who was against releasing the JFK files? The same guy who also admitted he saw the UFO files and said, quote, "We've got bigger problems." Well, turns out Trump wasn't having it, so he fired him.
I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here. Right?
Coincidence? I think not. A tweet from UAP News says, former CIA Director Mike Pompeo explains here why he was against releasing the JFK files. He also says that he's seen the UFO files and that, quote, "We've got bigger problems."
Why'd you fight to keep the JFK files secret?
Because I was trying to keep Americans safe. And by the way, don't paint with too broad a brush. 99.6% of the JFK files are public today.
But it was 60 years ago.
John, not everything was 60 years ago. And I don't want to spend a lot of time walking through this, but suffice it to say, the definition of a document covered by this statute that you're referring to, it's a little bit wonky, but suffice it to say, if Congress holds a hearing tomorrow on the Kennedy assassination, the documents generated tomorrow will be part of those files. Those would be tomorrow, they'd be 60 seconds old, not 60 years old. And last thing I'll say is there are things that happened 60 years ago that are still important to keep in the vault. There are lots of things that happened that long ago that still are appropriate not to release. Think of names and addresses and families. And by the way, there's also no value in them. These don't hold the dark secrets that everybody wants to just hold up as the bogeyman. I saw the UFO files too. We've got bigger problems. In America, lots of bigger problems. Just because something is kept secret will not go to the darkest corners. But it's a lot of fun. I'm happy to go there with you if you'd like.
I'm no expert in this, but it just makes no sense to me. The 60 years ago that there are things in there you've got.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
hypothetically, just for example.
Imagine you had an operative operating somewhere in the world who was 20 years old at the time they were doing that work. 60 years ago puts them at 80 today. Average lifespan of an American male, something in that range. Yeah, you should keep their identity secret.
But this was the Kennedy assassination in America.
Right, exactly. Precisely right. Remember what the scope of these files is, John. The scope of these files isn't reduced to just what was happening inside the United States government. The scope of these files is legion. Anything that was talked about in the course of, there were hearings in the 90s, there were hearings in the 2000s, they ran far afield around the world. Anything that was part of those files is included in this. And so I had a chance to see not all of those documents, but most of them. The news value of them is grossly overrated, and the desire to keep them secret, the motivation, the rationale for keeping them secret is wholly justified. I think we released, I can't remember on our watch, 140,000, 180,000 pages of those documents while I was the CIA director. Totally appropriate to do so, and as time goes on, we should do our best. The most important reason to do it is because everybody out there talking about these things will get to see that there's less there than meets the eye. I'll leave it at that.
Speaking of looking into the UFO files, let's take a quick look at a clip from former NSA Director Mike Rogers talking about James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, asking him to do just that.
The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, calls me, Mike, I need you to go through all of it. I need the team to go through all of NSA's holding all of its files, and I need everything that you have on UFOs. And I'm like, what, sir? You want me to do a review of our databases on UFOs? And I'm literally thinking to myself, is this some kind of joke? But clearly it's not, which is reflected in the question. For a lot of people, this is, hey, what is going on out there? Look, clearly there are phenomena occurring out there that both are visible and that we can't explain. I don't know what causes them. I don't know what they are. I don't know why. I never saw anything in my experience in the government in 37 years, both as an intelligence professional, but also as a senior military individual. I never saw anything that led me to believe that there was some external, i.e. non-terrestrial actor behind this kind of activity. But the flip side is I couldn't explain some of the activity. I just don't know.
That wasn't the only power move Trump pulled. He also appointed John Ratcliffe as the new head of the CIA, and this is where things get interesting. Before taking this role, Ratcliffe made waves in the UFO community by dropping truth bombs about UAPs. He even hinted that the government had been hiding way more than they've been letting on. Now that he's in charge of the CIA, does that mean full disclosure about UFOs is next? UAP News tweeted, "Congrats to new CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Below are 4 clips where he provided astonishing transparency related to UAPs. Hopefully in his new position, he could take it further by declassifying the UFO files." And to put a chef's kiss on this story, let's take a look at this tweet from New York Senator Chuck Schumer, who says, "Now do UFOs." I'm here for it, Chucky. I'm here for it too. Let's see if he does it. I'm not sure. But either way, this is all super, super interesting. I don't want to say it too loud. Let me knock on some wood just because I don't want to jinx it. But it seems like Trump is making some pretty important moves and putting some pretty important people into some pretty important positions. Hopefully this will all kind of work out for us. We feel like there's like a momentum building up to where we've got all these key players in key places. We've got all these people coming out talking about all kinds of different things. So hopefully later on down the line, we'll be learning and uncovering some even bigger truths. I really, really feel like we're just kind of like looking at the very, very tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is just kind of peeking out above the water, but really there's like a whole chunk of ice that we have left to unpack underneath. And I kind of have a feeling that we're getting to that chunk of ice really, 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 really soon. So do you think Trump will actually release all of the JFK, RFK, and MLK files, or will they be redacted to hell? Was Pompeo fired because he was protecting secrets? And if so, what else was he hiding? John Ratcliffe has been vocal about UFOs. Will he finally declassify the big stuff? Sound off in the comments and let us know. Next on the docket, Jake Barber drops bombs about UFO crash retrievals. Okay, I'm sure you've heard the name Jake Barber by now, and just in case you haven't, buckle up because this whistleblower just dropped some of the biggest UFO bombs we've ever heard. Jake, or Jacob Barber, if we're being official, just broke the internet with a blockbuster News Nation special called Hunting UFOs, the Crash Retrieval Whistleblower. And let me tell you, this is not just another UFO story. Barber claims he's been working in top secret crash retrieval programs for 30 years. That means reverse engineering alien tech, dealing with craft that responds to consciousness, and an egg-shaped UFO. Of course, not everyone's rolling out the red carpet for Jake. The internet is kind of divided. Some people are straight up clowning this man, calling him a LARPer, and then all kind of other names that I'm not going to repeat. But not so fast. Big names in the UFO world like Lou Elizondo and UAP Society's Captain Chris Lato have stepped in to put the trolls in their place by calling out the disrespect and reminding people that whistleblowers put everything on the line to come forward. First, let's take a look at a tweet from Jake Barber that says, "Hello everyone, I'm pleased to finally bring you our full public disclosures. You are going to want to hear every bit of this. Over the next several days, we expect to not only move the needle, but reach the tipping point. This is a combined effort from all camps. There will be multiple releases. Here's what you can expect in my full interview. My full background and grooming process, an overview of the recovery process, my attempts to catalyze disclosure through the Dopser process, catastrophic disclosure versus protecting America, wet works, proof that Congress has been intimidated, Stephen Greer, Indonesia, the danger of vilifying the military-industrial complex en masse, the importance of love and optimism, and an introduction to Skywalker, a preview of our experience. More coming soon, and our plan is to scientifically validate the existence of UAPs in the sky." Now, I'd love to show you a clip from that News Nation Hunting UFO special. However, when we did try to put it in the show that we did last, YouTube basically flagged it and said, nobody can view this. Like, they just totally took it down, wasn't visible to anybody in any countries. So we had to go through and trim it out. Boo, YouTube, do better. Anyways, moving on. Now, like I said earlier, not everyone is reacting well to Jake or his claims, and many are just straight up acting a fool. To set the record straight, let's watch a clip from a Lato's File video called Lou Elizondo Roasts UFO Trolls and Drops Insights on the White Egg video release, and hear what Lou and Chris have to say.
This interview is just fire. Lou has some amazing comments, amazing rants. I was laughing out loud, and I really feel for a lot of his frustration. I feel the same frustrations and think that Jake Barber has been treated unfairly coming out, and we'll see definitely what happens. So I wanted to share this video from my friend's channel, Martin Willis. It's Podcast UFO. Just check out some of these clips. It's amazing. Like I said, laughed out loud and really agree with a lot of what Lou is saying here.
People agree with it or disagree with it. Everybody's always wanting a new video or a new picture. And I keep telling people that's not what's going to bring disclosure. More and more and more whistleblowers coming forward. Unfortunately, sometimes you have whistleblowers that through the test of time, their story doesn't always add up. But I'm not sure that's the case here with Jake. I don't know him personally, but I do know Ross, and I know his journalistic ethics. And when I do know some of the special operators that were working with Jake, and I was very interested in protecting him. He was never going to come out as a whistleblower, and he finally decided to, which I'm very happy he did. People can poo-poo videos all day long. The bottom line is, are you a helicopter pilot? How do you know it's a Huey versus a Black Hawk or anything else? He was a contractor. I know some people are saying it's an aerostat balloon. It's not an aerostat balloon. People are saying all sorts of stuff. But time will tell if it's going to stand the test of time. I think we need to give everybody the opportunity. If someone says that they have something they need to say, then we need to let them say it. All voices, all perspectives matter. And this is something I've been saying since day one. There's a lot of people in ufology that have pretty outstanding claims, and people just buy it hook, line, and sinker. At least this guy, Jake, was willing to come forward with a video. At least he had people and eyewitnesses that supported him, and he is who he says he is, and he was a special operator, and he's been there and done that. Unlike a lot of other people who've never even served their country, and they want to throw stone. My answer is, well, get your ass off of the sofa and out of your mom's basement, put some damn clothes on, and do something, right? Stop just being an armchair quarterback. As you could tell, that obviously I'm a little emotional about it, right?
Yeah, I totally feel for Lou, and I was sending some pretty angry replies back to people that came into my channel and would post comments just saying he's a liar, that all these things are totally incorrect, that it's a setup. How could I possibly believe anything that's coming out? And yeah, like Lou said there, a lot of these people just don't really even know what they're talking about. It's just armchair quarterbacking and hammering the people that are putting their necks out. At least we should give them the benefit of the doubt, right? If they say that there are previous operators, they have the background that proves it. Ross and his team at News Nation have obviously looked through all of Jake's background and Fred Barker and the other people coming out as well. And so I think we should give them the benefit of the doubt rather than just acting like backing Mick West and just immediately discounting everything, right? And hammering these people for coming out. And it's not going to encourage more whistleblowers to come out. So yeah, I probably shouldn't reply back with angry comments, but if I'm going to get insulted, it's hard not to reply back, right? I mean, at some point, these guys did serve their country and they are taking a huge risk to come and bring this information to us. And it's literally the information we're all dying for, we're asking for. So when they come out, I think we should support them. And if it proves in the future that they're not who they say they are, or something doesn't make sense, then we'll figure that out. But it doesn't need to be knee-jerk reaction that we just kick them in the face.
There's a lot of people out there that want to see this thing fail. And if for no other reason, it's because I think they are confusing the messenger with the message, because they don't like somebody or because they pick, Team Joe instead of Team Bill or Team Jane. It's kind of an us versus them mentality. And they don't realize we're in this together. If you spent half the amount of energy that you do attacking other individuals and actually working towards disclosure, we might actually have disclosure a little faster, right?
Yeah, I love this part. And I think that's so true. And Lou's saying this, right? He's in support of Jake Barber, and Stephen Greer has been the alleged person, I believe the person who has helped bring Jake Barber forward. At least Stephen Greer has at least claimed that. So those are opposite sides of the topic, right? Lou Elizondo and Stephen Greer, I think you can consider them on opposite sides at the top of the topic, and they both support Jake Barber. So coming out and just saying Jake is fake and a liar and everything because he's supported by Stephen Greer doesn't really make sense, right? Because right here you're seeing Lou Elizondo also support him. So when he's talking about different camps, you like Joe, you like Bob, you're invested in that person's, I don't know, their idea of what the phenomenon is or their idea of what the program is. You're seriously invested in that. Doesn't mean you should attack the whistleblowers that come out, right? How about we support them? And like he's saying there, if you spend half your time doing something for the movement rather than just attacking people, we may get there faster.
All right, now that smackdown has been dealt with, let's move on to more important things. Jake has been talking a lot about the Skywatcher team that he has put together. To learn more, let's take a look at this next tweet of his that says, Skywatcher is an elite team of aerial intelligence experts and scientists. We are privately funded and are not seeking any form of revenue or funding from the public. We hope this proves to be a valuable gift to the world as we usher in a new era. Continuing on, he also made a Skywatcher tweet that reads, what is Skywatcher? Skywatcher is an aerial intelligence company. One of our main key objectives is to take a scientific approach to validating or invalidating the supposed claims related to UAPs. If these claims are true, we are on the precipice of entering a new scientific paradigm. We seek to better understand the true nature of reality. Who is Skywatcher? Skywatcher consists of a consortium of former military, intelligence, and government officials, as well as scientists, technologists, and investors committed to figuring out the truth. Now, in addition to that, we put together a clip from Skywatcher Part 1, The Journey Begins, that's on the new Skywatcher YouTube channel.
There seem to be a lot of people that are making incredible claims. And so we took all of these individuals that were making these claims, and we said, prove it. You claim that we can summon things in the sky? Prove it to us. We've got the sensors, we've got the team, we've now assembled everyone, and we've asked these folks to show us and actually verify what they're saying. And so here we are. We are here in the California desert, and we've assembled a group of about 15 people. We have a variety of different units within the group, including a sensor and data team, an operations team, a psionics team, and a scientific team led by Dr. Gary Nolan. And we are here to see what happens. We are going to spend 3 days together, leveraging the psionics team, seeing if we can actually make something appear in the sky, seeing if we can track it, seeing if we can actually gather data and verify these supposed claims.
Everybody's heard of flying saucers and alien technology and everything else. This project is aimed to prove what has not been proved in years past. It's to gather substantial evidence to show the American populace that there are substantial alien life and craft and everything else flying around.
Here we are, and I'm not really sure what to expect, to be honest. I think when you talk to the teams, they have unwavering conviction that something is going to happen, that we're actually going to see things in the sky. Not only do they think that we're going to see things in the sky, but we're going to be able to track it. We're going to be able to actually gather a variety of different data related to this thing. I think that the kind of belief of the team is very important. I think that we've assembled all of the folks that have done this before, and what we're doing does not seem to be new. In fact, it seems as though there's various groups that have been doing this to some degree for quite a while.
Look, there's two. Look at this, look at this, look right here. Look at this one going down and this one going up. Oh, motherfucker.
So the items that we saw last night could maybe be explained as satellites in some instances or space trash, but really when we started seeing erratic movement, we started seeing some vertical tracks and then tracks going from like left to right in the sky, west to east, and then go again vertical. And then we saw the tracks change course, direction, and speed. So I think that's a piloted aircraft of some sort. I think it's either an intelligent being or it's being told what to do. Didn't flash. It got brighter when it maybe had a reflective surface. I don't know exactly what it was. Only explanation I have is that it could be reflective light or particles that are in our inner atmosphere. But besides that, when they start moving and tracking in different directions, I think we're seeing some sort of craft of some sort.
During our time together, all 15 of us saw some form of unusual lights in the sky. These lights would randomly appear, stay for some short period, and then disappear. Oftentimes, multiple lights would seem to appear at once. They would frequently move in patterns or angles that, at least to me, seemed unusual for a plane, satellite, meteor, or space debris. But I am no expert. On the last day, however, one thing did happen. Dr. Nolan was there, and this was his perspective.
I personally didn't see anything in the sky or on the ground, but what I did see was an individual who, in the midst of attempting to call such an object, exactly at the moment that he said he was interacting with something, the individual on the roof who had the cameras saw something. When we reviewed what it was that the person on the roof had seen, something showed up. I mean, it was fleeting, but it was clearly not a bug. And so what do I have? I have a person who claims to be doing something. It was clear that he was in distress at the moment of the supposed interaction. And at that moment, something is seen. What do you have? You have a correlation.
Now, as if that wasn't fascinating enough, I also found this to be really relevant. This is a tweet from Jake Barber that says, "Hello, Oliver. I appreciate your support. Diane Powell from Telepathy Tapes is on our Sky Watcher team." So if you guys know anything about me, I'm all about talking about consciousness. I'm all about talking about telepathy. And I have been obsessed with the Telepathy Tapes since they came out. I've been telling everybody to watch them. I've been recommending it to everybody, and it's for a very good reason, because the information that's in that podcast has the chance to like literally change the world. Like, I know that sounds extreme. You're probably like, yeah, okay, Ellie, whatever. But if you listen to it, you know. If you know, you know. It's that kind of thing. If you know, you know. But the reason why I find it relevant that Dr. Diane Powell from the telepathy tapes is on Jake Barber's Skywatcher team is because this all is in an effort to validate telepathy. I feel like this is bringing to the conversation a lot about HICE and CE5 events. HICE, for those of you who don't know, is human-initiated contact experiences, and then CE5, of course, is close encounters of the fifth kind. Both of them are efforts for people to basically invite in UAPs or otherworldly beings. And I chose to use the word invite specifically for a reason, because I really, really do not like the choice of words that Jake Barber said when he said that he summons these UAPs. To me personally, other people may not feel this way, but the word summon kind of has like a negative connotation. It has like a demon devil kind of, I'm going to summon the devil kind of feel to it. And I'm not feeling that. I don't like it. The word summoning to me brings kind of like bad vibes to mind. It's more like a direct instruction, you know what I'm saying? Like a you have to do this because I'm telling you to do it kind of thing, versus the approach you take in a HICE or CE5 event where you're opening your heart with love and gratitude and inviting them in. It's a totally different approach. It's like, one is like, you're going to do this because I'm telling you you're going to do this. That's summoning. And then inviting is like, hey, star family, come hang out with us. So I just wanted to point that out, that little nuance about that word choice of summoning. I just don't like it. But I do really, really love the idea that the Skywatcher team is bringing this kind of conversation to the table. I love that they are inviting people like Dr. Gary Nolan to give credibility to it, because otherwise people would be like, oh, they're just doing whatever and blah, blah, blah. It's not really real, da, da, da. But if you have somebody there like Gary Nolan saying, hey, look, we followed the scientific method. We took every step we were supposed to take in the appropriate manner and fashion, and it just adds validity to it. So I love that. I wish Justin was here, because it's really hard trying to have a conversation by myself. I'm trying to remember all the things we talked about the first time we recorded this, but it's hard. So I hope I'm doing a good job. So do you believe Jake Barber's claims about crash retrievals and consciousness-linked craft? Why do you think people are so quick to attack UFO whistleblowers, especially when they're begging for them to come forward? Does the backlash against Barber remind you of what happened to David Grush? Let us know in the comment section below. And last, but certainly not least, The Age of Disclosure, the documentary that will change everything. Okay, UFO fam, get ready, because The Age of Disclosure is about to change the game. This documentary is unlike anything you've ever seen, packed with mind-blowing revelations from 34 senior members of the US government, military, and intelligence communities. We're talking about insiders revealing the secrets of non-human intelligent life, the cover-up that's been going on for decades, and even a secret war to reverse engineer alien tech. The one and only Jay Stratton is in this groundbreaking film alongside Dan Farah, who's brought this epic project to life. The Age of Disclosure doesn't just open doors, it smashes them open. Kick in the door, wave in the 4-4. All you heard was Papa Don't Hit Me No More. Shout out Biggie Smalls, NYC represent. All right, a tweet from Jay Stratton says, The Age of Disclosure is the most revelatory, credible, and historic documentary ever made about UAP, non-human intelligent life, the government's involvement, and the bipartisan disclosure effort. I'm proud to be in it with longtime colleagues and fellow disclosure advocates like Lou Elizondo, and proud of Dan Farah for his monumental work making this unprecedented film and making a landmark contribution to disclosure. The film will change the world. Let's spread the word.
The American people are ready to receive the truth.
Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human. I spent 25 years as a senior official with the CIA.
I worked on highly classified UAP programs.
28 years as an astrophysicist.
I served as the 4th Director of National Intelligence.
Director of Aviation Security in the National Security Council.
A one-star admiral after 32 years of service.
People that come forward with this, I feel like they've taken their life in their own hands.
I was recruited to a highly sensitive government program that investigated unidentified aerial phenomenon.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena topic.
We learned that the U.S. government was involved in a long-running secret war with other nations to collect and reverse engineer vehicles not made by humans.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
So look at that thing. It's rotating. There's a whole fleet of them.
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
This is so secret, very, very few people in our entire government have been allowed access to it.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
You better be careful about a government that doesn't trust its people, because there's no telling what they'll pull on you.
This is the biggest discovery in human history.
You had information being locked away that could change the trajectory for a species.
It has so many beneficial impacts, including clean energy.
We should have disclosure today. We should have disclosure tomorrow. The time has come.
What else you want to know?
A tweet from Christopher Sharp reads, "The age of disclosure. This could be one of the most consequential documentaries ever made. James Clapper will now come forward to speak about UAP." He then goes on to say in a different tweet, "Jay Stratton confirms to have seen non-human craft and non-human beings. Expect people to say more than they've ever said before on record." To break down who we are going to see in this film and why they're so important, let's hear from Lester Nari next.
So I just want to first start off by pointing out the obvious, which is that we've never actually seen this before, where in a single piece, in a single forum, that we have multiple dozens of senior government officials not simply saying that UAP are real, but that they represent non-human intelligence specifically. Now, for some of the folks that are featured just from that trailer, which is a slice of the total amount of people that are going to be in the final film, it includes the current Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who is also a former presidential candidate, current senator on both the Senate Intel and Armed Services Committee, and former presidential candidate Kirsten Gillibrand, former Defense Department official, head, depending on what you care about labeling it as, of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, Lou Elizondo. We also have Senator Mike Rounds, who's also one of the other few senators who's on both the Intelligence Committee and the Armed Services Committee. He was also the main sponsor on the UAP Disclosure Act of 2024, which had non-human intelligence defined and referenced 22 times and effectively alleged the executive branch of the federal government of hiding this issue on paper in proposed legislation. He was also the co-sponsor of the 2023 version of that same bill, and he attended our Senate event on disclosure at the end of November's hearing last year. We also have former DIA official Jay Stratton, who was the director of the UAP task force, which came before the now permanent office of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And he has never actually said what he said just in that trailer, which is very specifically speak to the fact that he personally has seen both craft and bodies. We also have, which was an interesting surprise, General Jim Clapper, who was the former DNI. There's a lot of controversy around him for folks who are on both sides of the aisle, so I know he's a controversial figure. He has never really made a public statement about this, although there was an interview with Mike Rogers, the former director of the NSA, a couple of months ago where he mentioned that in 2016, he was ordered by Clapper to gather all of the files from the NSA and provide them to him, which he thought was a joke at the time, but obviously it was not. Mike Gold, who was on the NASA UAP study team, who also testified at the November UFO hearing, Admiral Timothy Gallaudet, who's a former director of NOAA, who also testified under oath alongside Mike Gold at the hearing in November last year. Another new face, Brett Feddersen, who is the former director of aviation security for the White House National Security Council, which is another. This is someone who is at the top of the food chain when it comes to access to intelligence. Jim Semivan, who we know has been out before, has been associated with Tom DeLonge's effort at To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences. He's a former senior CIA official who loves to spend time here in Southern California. Representative Andre Carson, who was the chair for the first UFO hearing in over 50 years, when he chaired that hearing, I believe it was in 2022, which is where we had the likes of Scott Bray from the DoD come and provide that hearing messaging. We also have Mike Gallagher, who recently left the House, but he was the former chairman of the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. He's since become a venture capitalist, but was a darling of the Republican Party as a young, fresh face with good energy and new ideas. We also have another familiar face, Christopher Mellon, former Defense Department official, as well as multiple senior government scientists, including some faces we're familiar with, Dr. Gary Nolan from Stanford, quantum physicist Dr. Hal Puthoff, as well as astrophysicist Dr. Eric Davis, who are two of probably the most prominently known PhDs associated with the issue. And again, that's just a short list of the total of those who are going to be featured in this documentary. I think it's going to be a fascinating watch. I'm excited to see it and also see how it changes specifically the dynamics of the DC blob, because it's going to be a bunch of people that they know and recognize that have name ID all in one convenient package, sort of saying the same thing, which will dovetail with our calls for a select committee on UAP to be established, ideally as a joint committee between the Senate and the House, but in either chamber would be sufficient, as in addition to the passage of any number of executive orders for whistleblower protection and for the repatriation of these materials under the control of the federal government outside the hands of either the non-state actor or defense contractors that have been operating this for a while. This is going to start getting interesting.
So the thing that sticks out to me the most is that quote from Jay Stratton that says, "I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings." That's giving me like Carl Nell Zero Doubt vibes. You know what I'm saying? It's giving me like David Grush saying that the crafts were piloted by non-humans. You know, non-human biologics come with these crafts. It's giving me like no room for misinterpretation. You know what I'm saying? It's like he saw the bodies, he saw the beings, he saw the craft. Let's talk about it. I'm super excited for this documentary to come out. I didn't realize, well, actually, at the end of last year, I don't know if you guys remember or not, I made that little list of all the things that like we were waiting for. You know, David Grush's op-ed that never came out, who the coup de grace was going to be. We still don't really know that for sure. And then the documentary coming out was also kind of like had a question mark behind it. Well, this is that Dan Farah documentary that we were talking about at the end of last year that we weren't sure when it was going to come out or what it was going to be called or who was going to be in it. Well, here it is. It's here. They did not give an exact specific date about when the documentary is going to be released, but they said sometime in 2025. So it's only a matter of time. Woohoo! All right. How do you feel knowing 34 senior government insiders are revealing the truth about UFOs? Do you think the public is ready for this kind of disclosure? If you were part of the government, would you expose the truth about non-human intelligent life, or would you stay silent to protect national security? Make sure to drop us a comment below to let us know, and you can also share your ideas with us in the UAP Files Discord server as well. An invite link can be found in the video description box below, along with the link to all of the other sources that are found in the show in the order that they appear, so make sure to check that out. And that concludes this week's UAP Society's weekly UAP UFO News Show. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and while you're here, please do us a favor and smash that like button, click subscribe, ring our little notification bell, drop a lovely comment down below, and share this video with your family and friends to help us spread the good word. Let's raise the collective consciousness together in unity. All right, guys, much love, peace, and namaste.